Welcome to This Explainer. For 30 years, I've lived in a world of absolute numbers. I've spent literally decades as an actuary and in risk management. I'm talking about measuring probabilities, calculating life expectancies, and building these incredibly complex statistical models just to predict exactly how things are going to play out. Basically, everything in my professional life has been about quantifying the unknown and mitigating risk. But today? Well, today we are going to explore a concept that completely defies every single mathematical model I have ever built. We're going to strip away all the societal noise and focus on one truly profound idea: deconstructing the real meaning of a lasting legacy. Because I'll tell you, after a lifetime of meticulously calculating human outcomes, I've realized something huge. The true metric of a lasting legacy is actually something entirely unquantifiable.
So, think about it for a second. How do we typically measure a meaningful legacy? In my field, and let's be honest, in most of our daily lives, we tend to measure life exactly like a giant balance sheet. We tally up finite assets and these safe, calculated wins. We think about the degrees we've earned, the job titles we've secured, the money we've saved, and the specific projects we've personally dragged across the finish line. We're operating under this highly predictable risk model, basically treating life like a scorecard where the whole goal is just to accumulate more personal points than liabilities. But what if our baseline equation for a life well lived is just fundamentally flawed? Actually, scratch that. What if those highly calculated, fiercely projected personal assets aren't the things that actually survive the test of time?
And that brings us perfectly to the foundational source material for today's explainer. Look, in decades of managing corporate and financial uncertainty, I've constantly searched for the absolute most resilient investments out there. But honestly, I have found only one guiding principle that consistently yields an infinite return. It's a single, incredibly powerful maxim. Success isn't just about what you accomplish in life, but it is about what you inspire others to do. Wow. I mean, that one sentence contains a complete philosophical revolution. It's the ultimate disruption to the standard actuarial model of life. It takes the conventional math of ambition, the traditional arithmetic of getting ahead, and just turns it completely inside out.
Okay, let's break this apart starting right at the baseline, what you accomplish. In any risk management model, accomplishment is entirely deterministic. It's a straightforward, linear equation. You input your time, you mitigate the obvious risks, you apply your effort, and boom, you get a direct result. Now, accomplishing things is absolutely crucial, right? You have to put in the work. It's the reliable foundation of literally any career. But our source text warns us that this deterministic model is just a baseline. If your entire life strategy stops at personal execution, you're settling for a really limited, highly contained version of success.
The inherent limitation of focusing solely on personal accomplishment is that it functions a lot like a settled insurance claim. Just think about the nature of a personal achievement for a moment. First off, it is intensely focused on the individual. It's all about protecting and advancing the self. Second, it's measured by finite milestones. It's like ticking off isolated boxes on a checklist. Done, done, and done. And third, the energy of that action ends the absolute second the task is complete. It's a closed loop. The momentum stops entirely with you. When we rely solely on what we can physically accomplish with our own two hands, our success has a hard expiration date. It's a linear path with a definitive, unavoidable end.
And that brings us to the absolute inflection point of our source text, that one tiny word, but. In actuarial science, we are always hunting for trend shifts. Those sudden, defining deviations where a predictable flat line suddenly arcs upward in totally unexpected ways. Well, this tiny conjunction is the hinge of our entire philosophy today. It demands a complete shift in perspective. It's telling us that the known, finite world of personal execution is inherently insufficient on its own. This single word transitions us away from the deterministic boundaries of our own limitations and thrusts us headfirst into the unbounded, exponential world of human potential.
Which leads us to the ultimate truth of a lasting legacy: what you inspire others to do. This is where the math completely changes. When you shift your focus from your own tasks to what you inspire in others, you are no longer relying on simple addition. No way! You are stepping into the extraordinary realm of compounding interest. True success requires looking outward and kindling a fire in someone else. Inspiring someone introduces a variable with absolutely unlimited upside. It's a variable that traditional risk management models literally can't map or quantify. You are planting seeds that are going to grow, adapt, and propagate in ways you can never fully predict. And honestly, that beautiful unpredictability is where the true power lies.
Over 30 years of navigating immense corporate uncertainty, I've seen exactly what happens when crises hit and the traditional models just break down. The most resilient asset a person can possess isn't some brilliant strategy or a massive financial reserve. It is the people they have mentored. Inspiration is entirely focused on collective empowerment. It fundamentally moves the needle from me to we. When you mentor someone, when you truly empower them, you create this continuous ripple effect. Your energy doesn't just die when you finish a project or clock out for the day. It amplifies through them. This continuous ripple is exactly what builds an ongoing legacy. The human impact of mentorship is, without a doubt, the ultimate hedge against obscurity.
So we are faced with a pretty stark dichotomy here, a fundamental choice in the equation of our lives. On one side, you've got the personal metric, what you accomplish. It's deterministic, it's contained, and ultimately it's solitary. It's a neat, tidy ledger of tasks. But on the other side, you have the collective metric, what you inspire. This side is stochastic, infinitely expansive, and beautifully unpredictable. It connects deeply to the very fabric of humanity. The solitary achievements on the left represent nothing more than a timeline of events. But the collective metric on the right, the true empowerment and mentorship of others, that is the stuff that builds a legacy. The exponential return of inspiration fundamentally outweighs the linear path of mere accomplishment every single time. I've witnessed firsthand how leaders survive the absolute greatest periods of uncertainty. The ones who successfully weathered the storms weren't the ones aggressively hoarding their knowledge or trying to micromanage every conceivable risk. Not at all. They were the ones who mentored. They inspired their teams to think independently and lead with courage. So I want to ask you directly about your own life, right now, today. Are you just managing risks, or are you mentoring leaders? Who are you inspiring? When you interact with a colleague, a family member, or a friend, are you merely trying to get your own finite tasks done? Or are you actively operating with a mindset that empowers them, creating that unlimited upside in their lives?
We spend so much of our lives trying to calculate, measure, and control our personal outcomes. We so desperately want to manage the risk of failure by focusing solely on what we can do ourselves. But the most profound legacy we could ever possibly leave is the completely unquantifiable impact we have on the trajectory of others. So will your success end with what you did, or will it begin with what you inspired? That is the ultimate challenge our source material presents today. Don't settle for the finite dead end of mere accomplishment. Embrace the beautiful uncertainty of human potential. Choose the compounding interest of mentorship. Choose to be the spark. Thank you so much for exploring this explainer with me today, and I really encourage you to carry this challenge into every single interaction you have moving forward.